It was a quiet weekend in early fall and I was home alone. My wife, Rachel, had gone out of town to visit an old college friend in Bend for a couple of days. That kind of trip wasn't unusual for her around this time of year. Something about the trees changing color always pulled her away for a weekend. I didn't mind. I liked the solitude, especially out where we lived, on the edge of the woods, in a rural pocket just outside of Ashfield, Oregon. The house sat on a few acres of land, nestled between tall fir trees and thick brush. There were no immediate neighbors, none you could see anyway, and the gravel road leading to our driveway wound a little too long for most visitors. Out here, it stayed quiet, peaceful, sometimes too quiet. I worked from home full-time. My job was remote, mostly IT work, and there were entire weeks when I didn't go anywhere. I enjoyed the simplicity of it, though I guess that also meant I didn't talk to many people outside of Rachel. Still, I liked it that way. Quiet suited me. It was late Saturday afternoon when I noticed a text come in from a number I didn't recognize. The message was simple but strange. It was a question about a Craigslist ad I had supposedly posted, except I hadn't posted anything. I hadn't used Craigslist in months. I figured maybe it was a wrong number or some kind of scam. I ignored it. A few hours later, another message came through, this one more assertive. It made a reference to something being still for sale. I frowned, opened the app, and double-checked. I hadn't listed anything. No ads under my account. I started to feel uneasy. Maybe someone was messing around. The third message came around 10 p.m. That one was different. It just said, "So can I come over or what?" My heart rate kicked up slightly. Something about the tone felt personal, too casual for a scammer. I didn't respond. Instead, I double-checked that the front and back doors were locked. Then I turned on the porch light, just to be safe. Around 11:15, I shut off most of the house lights and moved into the family room, just off the entryway. The kind of place where you could still see most of the front yard through the big window if you cracked the blinds just right. I settled in, turned on the TV at low volume and tried to focus on an old UFC fight, something loud and mindless to keep my brain from spinning. Then my phone buzzed again, just 3 words. "I'm here." I didn't move right away. I couldn't. Something inside me dropped heavy and cold, like the floor had just vanished under me. My skin prickled. My breath caught in my throat. I stood slowly and went to the front window. I didn't see anything at first. No car, no headlights, just the porch light flickering above the steps. I moved closer to the window, pressed my face to the glass, and that's when I saw him. A man was standing just outside, less than 2 feet from the window, staring. He didn't flinch when I locked eyes with him. He had a buzzed haircut, hollow eyes, and a smile that didn't touch anything except the corners of his mouth. The kind of smile that doesn't mean warmth. It means control. I stumbled back and grabbed my phone, dialed 911. My hands were trembling so badly it took me 2 tries to hit the right buttons. I gave the dispatcher my address and told them someone was outside, watching me through the window. They told me to stay on the line and not to approach or engage. I backed into the family room and grabbed the old baseball bat I kept behind the couch. I stood by the front door, knees locked, heart thundering in my chest, just waiting, listening. A minute passed, then another. Suddenly, I heard footsteps outside, light but quick, someone running. I peeked again. The man was gone. The dispatcher stayed on the line with me until the cops arrived about 8 minutes later. 2 cruisers rolled up the gravel drive, lights flashing against the trees. They swept the property with flashlights, walked along the edge of the woods, scanned the road. But there was nothing. No sign of a vehicle. No one in sight. I gave them the number that had sent the texts, showed them everything. They took notes, asked a few routine questions. Did I have any enemies? Recent arguments? Had I posted anything unusual online? I had not. That's when one of the officers offered a theory. It might have been a prank. Maybe someone with access to public records looking to scare people for fun. Another suggested it could have been a test. Someone checking to see if anyone was home before attempting a break-in. Neither explanation made me feel any better. They told me they'd patrol the area for the next few nights and left me with a direct number in case anything else happened. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound the house made, every creak of the floor, every shift in the pipes felt louder, closer. I stayed on the couch with the bat across my lap, checking the windows every 10 minutes. There were no more messages, no more footsteps. Rachel came home 2 days later. At first, I didn't tell her the full story, just enough to make her cautious. But she knew something was wrong. I wasn't myself. Eventually, I told her everything. We installed cameras the following week, motion lights, better locks. I even bought a small handgun, something I never thought I'd need in my life. Then, a week later, I got a voicemail. No call, no follow-up text, just a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it on speaker, sitting alone in my truck with the engine running. The voice was male, calm, flat. "You shouldn't lie online. People are watching." That was it. No threat, no name, just that. I haven't gotten another message since. Almost a year has passed now, but I still wonder, what listing did he think I posted? Or did I ever post one at all? And if I didn't, how did he get my address? I have always been careful about selling electronics online, especially high-end stuff. I'm a photographer, freelance mostly, and my Canon EOS 5D Mark IV had been my workhorse for years. But I had just upgraded to a newer model, and the old one was gathering dust on the shelf. It was in excellent shape, still worth a decent amount, and I needed the cash. I listed it for $1,200, firm. Included every detail, multiple angles of the body, and clearly wrote that I'd only meet during daylight hours in a public place. I made sure it looked professional and safe, and honestly, it worked. I got some decent inquiries. Most were flaky or tried to lowball, but then one stood out. A woman messaged me from a local number. She introduced herself as Jenna, said she was interested and didn't mind meeting halfway. She was polite, quick to respond, and even offered to meet at a public strip mall, Pine Creek Commons, about 20 minutes from my place in Riverview, Illinois. We agreed on a time 2 p.m. the next day outside a coffee shop. I didn't think much of it. Everything seemed straightforward. The next afternoon, the sun was high, the lot was busy, exactly how I liked it. Foot traffic, people chatting with iced lattes, the usual weekday bustle. I spotted her immediately. She was sitting on a bench outside the cafe, tote bag at her feet, black hoodie pulled up and shoulder-length dark hair just like she described. She didn't say much when I approached. Her voice was raspy, maybe tired, maybe something else. She inspected the camera briefly, then paid me via Venmo on the spot, smooth and easy. She thanked me, tucked it in her bag, and walked off. I got a coffee and went home. 3 nights later, everything changed. Around 11:45 p.m., I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Just a casual greeting. At first, I assumed it was a wrong number, but then came another one, this time referencing our recent meetup. It was her, Jenna, the camera buyer. She said she thought I was cute, asked if I was single, said she felt a moment between us. I didn't reply. It was weird. Way too forward. I had barely spoken to her. It had been a 5-minute transaction in daylight, nothing more. Minutes later, another message popped up. She asked if she could come over, said we could just chill. I responded with a lie. Told her I had a girlfriend and wasn't interested. I figured it would be enough to shut things down. It wasn't. She pushed again, saying she didn't care. She wasn't trying to date me. She just wanted to hang out. I didn't answer. When I woke up the next morning, I had 5 messages from her, sent between 4 and 5:30 a.m., each one more desperate, more erratic. Apologies, flirtations, then anger. Then, I blocked her number, but it didn't stop. That night I heard tapping on my bedroom window. It was faint at first, that I assumed was a branch or maybe the wind. But it kept going. I pulled back the curtain. She was standing outside, just a few feet from the glass, hoodie pulled tight, her face pale in the porch light. She didn't blink, just stared, like she was waiting for me to open the door. The next morning I filed a police report. They took down everything, her number, the listing, the time we met. I didn't have her last name or address, just a first name and a payment receipt. For a few days it was quiet. Then one night, I got another message. It was from a new number. No greeting, no name, just a single image of me taken through my own bedroom window. I called the police again. They came immediately, searched the yard, checked the locks, reviewed the perimeter. Nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, no one in sight. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom after that, moved into the guest room, installed cameras, new locks, bright lights on motion sensors. I kept my phone within reach and a baseball bat beside the bed. Weeks passed. Then a package arrived. No return address, just my name scribbled on the front in black marker. I hesitated to open it, but the curiosity eventually got the better of me. Inside was the camera I had sold, cracked, the lens shattered. The screen smashed, and taped to the bottom was a Polaroid, a picture of her standing outside my house, smiling. I moved a week later. I changed my number, deleted every marketplace profile I had, and for months I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still watching, somewhere, waiting. All because I sold a camera to the wrong person. I had just gotten a small promotion at my job, a move from cashier to front office assistant at a furniture warehouse in Denton, Texas. It came with a modest raise, just enough to finally consider selling my old car and upgrading to something better for my longer commute. The car was a 2007 Mercury Mariner. It wasn't flashy, but it had been reliable. Clean title, no major issues. With over 200,000 miles on it, I figured I'd get what I could and let it go while it still had some value. I'd sold a few things online before. Some furniture, a bike, a microwave. Craigslist had always been my go-to. It felt simple and direct, even if a little old school. My apartment complex, Oak Hollow Flats, had 6 identical buildings. A place that looked decent by day but sketchy enough at night to keep a can of pepper spray on your keychain. Still, I figured I was cautious enough. I listed the Mariner with decent photos, a straightforward description, and priced it fairly. No hits the first day. Then on day 2, I got a message from someone named Al. He sounded serious, said he was interested, asked if he could come by the next night around 9 p.m. That time wasn't ideal, but I worked mornings and didn't want to turn away a buyer. I agreed and sent him the address. I made a point to keep the instructions vague, just a note to say the car would be parked near Building C. The next evening, I got the car cleaned up, vacuumed, wiped it down, made sure the paperwork was in order. At 9:03 sharp, a black Dodge Charger pulled up and parked a couple spots away. The driver was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a backward cap and a black hoodie despite the warm air. Tattoos snaked up his neck. He walked toward me with slow, confident steps. He looked over the car, circled it, popped the hood, asked if we could take it for a spin. I hesitated for a second but agreed, as long as I went with him. We drove around a few blocks in silence. He didn't seem interested in chatting and I didn't push it, but something he said stuck with me. It was casual but unsettling. Something about how people let their guard down when they're trying to sell things. I brushed it off with a nervous laugh, but watched him closely from the corner of my eye. He didn't smile. He brought us back to the lot and parked in the exact same spot. Then he stepped out, handed me the keys, and said he'd think about it. That should have been the end of it. But he lingered. He just stood there, not moving, not leaving. Like he was trying to come up with a reason to keep the conversation going. Then he asked if he could use my bathroom real quick. That made my stomach twist. I politely declined. I kept my tone firm, even though every nerve in my body was screaming. I turned and started walking back toward my building, deliberately avoiding the side door, even though it was closer. I looped around to the front entrance, not wanting him to know which apartment was mine. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him still standing there, watching. Once inside, I checked through the glass. He was gone. I took the elevator up to the 3rd floor and stepped out. That's when the stairwell door at the end of the hallway opened. It was him. He hadn't taken the elevator. He'd taken the stairs. We stared at each other for half a second. Then he started walking toward me. I turned and walked fast, heart pounding. I heard his pace pick up. Then I heard him break into a run. I bolted. I didn't think. I sprinted to the opposite stairwell, taking the steps down 2 at a time. His footsteps pounded behind me, closer than I wanted. I hit the parking garage beneath the complex and darted between parked cars, trying to lose him. I could still hear him behind me, breathing hard now. Winded, maybe. I reached the stairwell on the far side, raced back up to ground level, and burst through the side door into the night. I didn't look back. I ran straight to the Mariner, flung the door open, jumped in, locked it, and sped out of the lot. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely steer. I called 911 while flying down Sycamore Avenue. I told the dispatcher everything, that a man had just chased me through my apartment building, that he had come from a Craigslist ad about my car, and that I thought he was trying to rob me or something worse. They took it seriously. I pulled into a gas station lot a few blocks away and waited until I saw the flashing red and blue lights head toward my building. Then I circled back. His car was still there. The police entered my building, and about 15 minutes later they escorted Al out in cuffs. Turns out he hadn't just been lurking. He had broken into an apartment down the hall, apparently thinking it was mine. He didn't steal anything. He didn't say why he was in there, just mumbled something about needing the bathroom. Later, the officers told me he had a record. Multiple break-ins, one assault charge that was later dropped. He'd been recently released from jail. And apparently, he'd used Craigslist before to find victims. He never wanted the car. It was bait. A setup. After that night, I deleted the listing and never used Craigslist again. I moved out of that apartment 2 months later, switched jobs a few months after that, and bought my next car from a dealership. I still think about that night. What if I had let him in? What if I hadn't trusted my gut? People always say, trust your instincts. But you don't really understand what that means until you're running for your life through stairwells and shadowed hallways with some stranger's footsteps echoing behind you. By then, it's not advice, it's survival. It started on a Thursday night at work. I was closing up at the hardware store just past 8 p.m., and the place was dead quiet. Kyle was finishing up in the garden section, and I was killing time at the front counter by scrolling Craigslist like I always did when it got slow. Craigslist was kind of an addiction for me. Cheap furniture, tools, sometimes weird stuff, but occasionally you'd find a real gem. I'd gotten a coffee table once for $20 and a decent Keurig machine for $10. This time it was a 55-inch Samsung TV, barely used, $120. Not too cheap to be suspicious, just enough to feel like a good deal. The pictures looked real. Living room shot, couch, cat tree, seemed everything normal. The seller's name was Nina. Her post said she was moving and needed to sell fast. I messaged her, "Hey, if this is still available, I can swing by tomorrow night." She replied an hour later, "Still available. Can you come around 7?" The smiley face made it feel less sketchy. I asked for the address. She sent it. 248 Birch Hollow Drive, a neighborhood called Brookage, just 10 minutes from my apartment in Spring Haven, Illinois. I Googled it. Real house. Looked clean, quiet. Porch lights, hedges, seemed safe. The next evening, after work, I stopped by an ATM and pulled out $140 just in case. It was just starting to get dark when I pulled up outside her place. Beige house, red door, porch light on, no car in the driveway. I parked on the street and texted her, "Hey, I'm here." Almost immediately, the front door opened. A woman stepped out, mid-30s maybe, brown hair in a messy bun, jeans and a hoodie. Looked totally normal. "You must be Carla," she said. "Yeah," I nodded. "Nina?" "Yep." "Come on in. Sorry, the place is kind of a mess. We're packing." I stepped inside. Boxes everywhere, kitchen stuff, cords in a laundry basket. Nothing out of place for someone getting ready to move. She closed the door behind me, not locked, just shut, and walked ahead of me down a short hallway. "TV is in my bedroom," she said. "Cool," I replied, glancing around. "Looks like you're almost ready." She laughed. "Ugh, I wish. Garage is still a nightmare." We reached the last door in the hallway. "It's in there," she said, nodding. I stepped in and stopped. The room was completely empty. No TV, no bed, no furniture, just beige carpet and walls. Nothing. Before I could say a word, the door slammed shut behind me, sharp, loud. Then a bolt clicked. I froze. I knocked harder. No response. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Just the spinning circle. Nothing would load. I backed away from the door, panic building in my chest. The room was silent. The kind of silence that starts to feel alive. I turned toward the window, blinds drawn. I yanked them up. Small window, fogged glass. The pane wouldn't budge, either sealed or locked from the outside. I banged on the door again, yelling louder, hitting it with my fists until they ached. Then I heard it. Voices, a man and a woman. Not directly outside, somewhere nearby, maybe in the living room. I pressed my ear to the door. It was her, Nina, talking to someone, a man. Calm, like it was just another conversation. I couldn't make out the words. I screamed again. Nothing. I don't know how long I sat in that room. 10 minutes? 20? I checked the window again, searched for vents, anything. My thoughts were spinning. Was this a prank? A robbery? Something worse? That's when I remembered something on my phone. A siren app I had downloaded once. I found it, cranked the volume, hit play. The room filled with high-pitched, shrieking alarm noise. I set the phone down in the corner farthest from the door. Then I waited, just behind the door. 30 seconds later I heard footsteps. Heavy ones. The door creaked open. A man stepped in. Tall, hoodie, jeans. His face was blank. He turned toward the sound. I ran. He reached for me. Fingers grazed my arm, but I slipped past, adrenaline kicking hard. I sprinted down the hallway. Nina was in the living room. She lunged. I dodged. I hit the front door like a battering ram. It flung open. She grabbed my wrist, but I yanked free and ran. I didn't stop. Straight to my car. Slammed the door. Peeled out. My phone was still in that room. I drove 5 minutes to the nearest gas station and ran inside. Told the clerk to call the police. The cops came fast. I gave them everything. The address, her name, his description, the ad. We went back to the house. It was empty. Porch light off. Front door locked. Back was clear too. Then they found my phone, 2 blocks away, tossed in the grass. And then they told me something I still can't fully make peace with. The house had been vacant. The actual owner had moved out a month ago. It was listed for sale. No one was supposed to be living there. By morning, the Craigslist ad was gone. Deleted. They never found Nina. Or the man. I still think about that door clicking shut behind me. That empty room. The voices. If I hadn't used the alarm. If I'd hesitated. If I'd gone any deeper into that house. They said I was lucky. I don't feel lucky. I just feel scared every time I pass a house with a red door and wonder if someone's waiting inside. But to make sure you never walk back out again. Thank you to everyone who listened to my story. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.